As you can see from the footage on this Eternal character, Fleshrender is crazy. This build's going to let you spam your ultimate non-stop and instantly refreshes the rest of your cooldowns. This means that you can spam Fleshrender, which is going to do the bulk of the damage in the build. This build was hitting for hundreds of billions of damage on the PTR, and even though Overpower got nerfed, this build should still be really good. So if you like crazy broken shenanigans, this is the build for you. Make sure you guys drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and come by my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/screamheart. Now let's get into the build. First off, make sure you click on the link underneath the video. It's going to take you to my Screamheart profile with all of my builds. If you're looking for this one, just click on Fleshrender and follow along. Alright, so let's talk about how this build works. So first off, we've got Petrify and Earthen Bulwark. Those are going to be the meat and potatoes of the build. And those are interacting with Fleshrender, Eredez, and Vasilis in interesting ways that are going to increase our damage and allow us to do some crazy stuff. Fleshrender says, casting a defensive skill deals X damage to nearby poisoned enemies, and it's increased for all the willpower you have. So we're going to stack a lot of willpower and buff this up a lot. And this synergizes really well with Eredez, which also gives us increased damage based on willpower. And what Vasilis is going to do is it's going to turn our Earthen Bulwark into a Werebear skill, which is helpful because Fleshrender's passive deals poison damage, but it takes on the tags from the skill you're using. So because we're using Earthen Bulwark, it's also going to be an Earth skill and a Werebear skill. So the basic gist of how you're going to play is you can pop all of your other defensive abilities. Those are going to offer different things. You get a little bit of attack speed from Blood Howl. You get some damage reduction and damage from your debilitating roar. You're activating natural balance with either Cyclone Armor or Hurricane, and both of these are going to reduce enemy damage. So lots of defensive stuff and offensive stuff. Now, once you've got the basic stuff activated, you're going to use Earthen Bulwark to deal damage. After using Earthen Bulwark, it's going to go on cooldown, but you can pop your Petrify right away, and it will instantly reset Earthen Bulwark and all of your other abilities. So you can basically alternate between Earthen Bulwark and Petrify over and over. Now, this is extremely spammable if you're on a boss, because Petrify reduces your cooldown for your ultimate by 10 seconds if you hit a boss. Which means on bosses, if you get your cooldown under 10 seconds, which is totally doable, you can spam this constantly. If you're on a pack of enemies, then there's a chance you're going to have to use Flicker Step and dash through enemies, but that's going to instantly reset your cooldown because it's already under 10 seconds anyways. For your Spirit Boons, you're going to want to run Wariness for some damage reduction, Swooping Attacks for extra attack speed, which even though we're not attacking faster, should queue up your different abilities faster. We're going with Avian Wrath for the critical strike damage, Calamity for the ultimate duration, and Overload for some extra poison. I think down here you could go for a couple different options. It might even be possible to remove your Flicker Step and run with Combo for the Storm if you can get enough lucky hit chance. For our gear, we're going with Vasili's Prayer, Shroud of False Death, Vehement Brawler's Aspect, Storm Shifter's Aspect, Flicker Step, Fleshrender, Natural Balance, Eredez, Changeling's Debt, and Subterranean. Subterranean was my least favorite choice, and there's a couple other options you could go with, like Creeping Death or Crashstone Aspect, but I believe this is the best all-around option. For your stats, make sure you focus a lot on willpower. Every single bit of willpower you can get is going to be worth it. In fact, the only item I didn't focus the willpower was on the amulet, where I chose Envenom as the focus. For our runes, we're going with Zan Zan and Yule Cox. These are going to be spamming constantly because it's based off of using cooldowns and based off of using our ultimate, which we're doing non-stop. One of these is giving us guaranteed critical strikes and overpower, which means we don't have to worry about affixes for critical strike chance nearly as much in our gear, and we're going to get a lot of overpowers, which even though they nerfed it, is a 50% damage increase plus whatever additive overpower damage you have. And then Cox is just a 100% damage increase, and this should be up pretty much all the time. For the Horadric spells, we don't need to pull enemies together because we already have our Eredez, so I opted for Astral Pillar, because this has a built-in way to make enemies vulnerable, which frees up one of our other slots. But if you feel your vulnerable uptime is not good enough, feel free to take out Shifting Powder and go for the one that gives you vulnerable here. We're attaching this to our Petrify, and for our infusion, we're going with Corrosive Vapor. Our first Arcana is Bloody Charm. We're going with Fractured Core and Shifting Powder. For our gems, we're going with Ruby on the weapon, Sapphire on the armor. We're going with Luminant Eye. This is reducing our ult cooldown by 25%. If you don't need the cooldown reduction, you could go for Elemental Brand, but I think it might be better to cut out the cooldown reduction in your build so that, for example, on Eredez, you can focus purely into willpower instead of going into ultimate skill cooldown reduction. But either way you do it should work. Again, make sure you get under that 10-second cooldown reduction for your Petrify. If you want additional information, make sure you click on the link under the video and check that out. For our skill tree, we're putting 2 points in Claw just so we can move to the next category. Same thing with Iron Fur, putting in points here. It gives us a little bit of defensiveness, but also just to move to the next part of the tree. Don't judge me, but I went with Innate Earthen Bulwark here because we don't need the Fortify. And if you're like me, you have nostalgia for the old Bulwark build, and this will give us a taste of that. Not to mention, it's just a little bit extra damage. We're grabbing Cyclone Armor, and we're going to use Innate Cyclone Armor. This is going to push enemies away, but it increases our damage against him, and we're pulling him back in with Eridas anyways, so it's totally fine. We're also going with Blood Howl. This is going to give us a little bit of extra attack speed and healing, but if you feel like you don't need the healing, I would say probably just drop this skill completely and drop those points somewhere else, like more resistances or maybe more points in Earth and Bulwark, because we don't really need to be using this. It kind of just takes time away from the other stuff we could be doing. Debilitating Roar, we're putting points in down to get more damage, and then we're maxing out our Backlash as well as our Vigilance. Down the next part of the tree, we're maxing out Nature's Reach and Feral Aptitude for more damage. We're also going to be maxing out Crushing Earth, Stone Guard, Toxic Claws, Envenom, Defiance, Natural Disaster, Resonance, and Quick Shift for more damage. We'll be maxing out our ultimate. It's very important to hit the rank 5 on this, and getting the 2 additional points. Again, make sure you get your cooldown under 10 seconds for this, it's very important. We're grabbing Heightened Senses for some extra damage reduction and movement speed. And then for our Keystone passive, we're going with Earthsign Strength. This is going to give us some extra health, damage, and overpower damage. Moving on to our Paragon boards, we're going to be getting Headhunter on our starter board, moving up and attaching Heightened Malice, and we're putting Spirit Glyph here. To the left from there, we're putting our Survival Instincts board on, and we're going to be using the Keeper Glyph here. Down from there, we're going to be going with Ancestral Guidance, and we're going to be using the Dominate Glyph. Moving down again from there, we're going to be attaching the Earth and Devastation board, and here we're putting Earth and Sky. Keep in mind that I usually make a endgame, mid-game, and early game tab for my builds. This one has an endgame build right now. I'm going to make a mid-game tab for it, but there won't be an early game tab because this one requires too much stuff to bring online in the beginning of the game. For the mercenaries, I recommend going with Rahir as your main, and you can either go for all resist or armor, depending on what you need, and you're going to get some damage on both sides. For reinforcement, I like to go with Varyana, and I go with Bloodthirst to get some extra attack speed, and this can be used on any skill. Now, fair warning, this build is basically a flashbang. You're going to be spamming your ultimate so much that you're constantly going to get flashed. So if you're not into that, definitely don't play this build, but it's a good build and it's a lot of fun. Make sure you guys check out some of my other builds. I've got all kinds of builds for the season. Effectively every single Druid build that's even worth playing. Now I might be able to get out one more video before the season starts. I'm not sure because I'm running out of time. But one way or the other, make sure you guys show up in my Twitch stream at the start of the season. It's at twitch.tv/screamheart. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Daddy Druid out.
Subscribe to Scream Heart. He's more than an old fart. He makes lots of fun builds. I promise his streams chill. He should probably be faster. Come watch this disaster.